in seeing how well the Braves performed this year. For the mere fact that to see them perform and to see them get ready and prepare for this season. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on the Braves and not looking at North Carolina Central. But the reason why I'm spending so much time with North Carolina Central is for the mere fact that there are so many questions that could possibly surround what the Braves actually bring to the table this year. And with what they have coming up, they only have just a couple of home games. And the reason why they only have a couple of home games this year is for the mere fact of them not having played during the spring of the year. And unfortunately, that was their penalty for not playing in the spring of the year. Wow. And you can say, well, yes, you actually brought it on yourself. Unfortunately, they did bring it on themselves. And I truly hate that they did bring that on themselves, because it could have been a great spring year with the Braves playing against Alabama A&M, against Akil Glass, that great quarterback that they have for Alabama A&M, and seeing that defense. Well, I guess you could say the Alcorn Braves defense, even though they did give up 64 points in the Celebration Bowl. Not a good day for, as much as I hate to say it, not a great day for the SWAC conference. But at the same time, they were the 2019 SWAC champions. And because of that, they represented the SWAC. And they represented the SWAC as best they could in that particular game. Now we come to this particular MEAC SWAC challenge. And in this particular MEAC SWAC challenge, we have North Carolina Central. Now, North Carolina Central brings to the table a pretty good resume. They have been knocking at the door, but of course the team that has kept them out of any kind of aspirations of winning anything has been North Carolina A&T. But guess what? A&T is gone. The other team that would have kept them from any kind of aspirations is Florida A&M. But guess what? They're gone also, and they are now in the SWAC conference. So with A&T, it seems to be a clear path. But wait a minute. South Carolina State is the predicted 2021 fall contenders to win the MEAC conference. But they play their first game on September 4th against Alabama A&M. So you're going to see a whale of a game. But just like the coach said from South Carolina State, the last time they played Alabama A&M kind of thumped them. That's the nicest way I can put it, is that A&M really put it on South Carolina State. And so it'll be interesting to see that second week, when you could say that is the second SWAC MEAC challenge in this case, because it's essentially the MEAC SWAC challenge. But in the case of when Alabama A&M plays South Carolina State, I'm going to reverse it and call it the SWAC MEAC challenge, because in this case, South Carolina State will be trying to upend, I guess you could say, the South Carolina State will try to upend Alabama A&M. It's going to be a tall order. That's going to be rough. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that they will be able to come out and have any kind of success against them. I don't see them having any kind of success against them whatsoever. I might be totally unequivocally wrong, equivocally be wrong in regards to that. But based on everything that I've seen from the spring of the year from Alabama A&M, it's going to be tough for them to get beaten this year. But there are going to be teams that's going to come after Alabama A&M extremely hard this year. One team I can tell you that's going to be new entering the SWAC is going to be Florida A&M. That's playing in their same division, in the East Division. A&M actually left the MEAC sitting on top. They essentially beat everyone in that division, in their division. Well, I should say in the MEAC, because they didn't have divisions. And so they're coming over with a very good record. The only team, however, that they truly lost to is the very first game that A&M will be playing against, the very first team that they play against on September 5th. And that team happens to be Jackson State University. They lost to Jackson State 18-16 the last time they played. And the one thing I can honestly say is the team that they lost to in that year, I don't think they had a pretty good team. That is Jackson State. They didn't have the horses that it's presumed that they have today. It's presumed that they have some some pretty good horses playing for them. And hopefully we will see a better outcome in all of Jackson State's games. Right now, Jackson State is projected to finish third just in their division, behind Alabama A&M and Florida A&M. So it's going to be a tough road for them to think that they will be able to do any better. And for them to perform at a higher level is just going to be very interesting to see whether or not they'll be able to do that. A lot of me included, I just feel that if Jackson State can get off to a decent start in their very first game against Florida A&M, that will set the tone for the rest of the year, because because Florida A&M is gunning for them. Alabama A&M is gunning for Jackson State because that will be Jackson State's second SWAC game. Everyone is gunning for Jackson State, even though Jackson State is projected to finish third in their division, let alone the conference. So they have a lot to prove. Jackson State finished 4-3 during the spring of the year. Granted, one of those wins happened to have been with an Alcorn State forfeit, which allowed them to finish 4-3. So essentially, with the games that they actually played, they played 6 games, and they essentially finished 6-6. They beat the teams that they should have beaten. But when it came time to defeat the teams that really had the juice, they fell short. But the one thing I will say in terms of Jackson State falling short is that they fell short against the team that actually won the conference, Alabama A&M. That says a lot. Alabama A&M really did a number on them. but they had a very good game. Um, they played with the team, with the players that could have played a lot better, but unfortunately they were unable to. So, and with that being the case, um, it could have been a lot better, but unfortunately it was not. So Jackson State will have a lot to prove to a lot of individuals that they actually play against. But going back to the Braves and the game this weekend, with what's on the line for Alcorn State this weekend, and I plan to be there, and I plan to have a pregame show for everyone this weekend in Atlanta. And the one thing I can tell you is just looking at this game and what actually is being brought to the table. The one thing I can easily say is Alcorn really will have to make a statement. Do I think North Carolina Central has to make a statement? Not really. They didn't play in the spring. Alcorn had a choice, and they made a choice of whether to play in the spring. And because of the choice that they made, they have to live with it. And because of that choice, Alcorn, as far as I'm concerned, they have to show the world that we're still top dog in the SWAC conference. And do I have a lot of love for Alcorn? Yes, I do. I really do. I really respect the program. I really respect what Coach McNair has actually put on that particular field. The last game that they played, they may have not played a good game, and we all understand that. But the one thing that they can say is that for what they actually brought to the table, they did well. And but you have to do more than well to say this is what we have, this is who we are, and this is what's going to come out of this game that we are going to be playing. And for that, I'm hoping that we see a lot from Alcorn. I'm counting on them. I truly am. I truly am counting on Alcorn to put on a good show. And more than anything else, if they put on a good show, then what we will see is going to be a great game by Alcorn. And I believe in my heart of hearts that Alcorn should win this game against North Carolina Central. But we shall see. And with that being the case, let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break here, and I will be right back. Shown here. So we plan to have a great day there. But the other two games that's going to be played on this week will be Edward Waters playing Florida Memorial. And that is the Big Cat Classic. And that game is going to be played in Jacksonville, Florida at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll see with Edward Waters having a new head coach, whether or not they can come in and whether or not they can rebound and do better than they did during the spring of the year. They did not have a great spring season, I should say, during this past football season. But hopefully they're able to turn their season around and have a great year. But that is yet to be seen whether or not they will be able to do that. And of course, that very first game that you see that will be played is going to be Kentucky State. And as I said, we hope to have Coach Jackson on at the top of the hour at 12 noon, for him to talk about that game and discuss what he believes he will see in Central State. And Central State against Kentucky State will be played in the Classic of Columbus in the Horseshoe at Ohio State. And that game is going to be their very first game, and hopefully Kentucky State will put out have a great showing. Central State, however, is rebuilding, and they have great tradition, great history in terms of their football program, and we will see whether or not Central State is in a position to bring back some of that old history, to say this is who we once were, and we're building back to what we used to be. And with that being the case, we will see whether or not they're able to perform as they used to. But as you can see, these are the first 3 games of the year in week 0. Central State versus Kentucky State, that'll be the first game at 2 p.m. in the Horseshoe, followed by at 4 p.m., and these are Eastern Standard Time games, followed by Edward Waters and Florida Memorial at 4 p.m., and then, of course, the big game that will be shown on ESPN, the MEAC SWAC Challenge, the Alcorn State Braves against North Carolina Central. And that game will be played in Atlanta, Georgia. The one thing that I say more than anything else is support your local HBCU. Make sure you give, because more than anything else, they need your support. The one thing that I have done over the past several years is that I have purchased season tickets for Jackson State University. As most of you know, I'm a grad of Jackson State. But the one thing that I have done more than anything else is that I have made sure I have supported the athletic program. And I have bought season tickets. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm not able to go to all of their home games. As a matter of fact, there was one year that I purchased season tickets. I wasn't able to go to any games. Not one game. But what I was able to do was support the athletic program. Good, bad, or indifferent, I was still able to support the athletic program. And that's the one thing that I recommend that you do. Your program, your athletic program. None of the programs, whether academic, athletic, or whatever, cannot succeed unless we support the university. And if we don't support the university, we want to see the band, we want to see our sports team, we want to see our academia perform and be the best out there. But guess what? They can't perform, they can't be the best if we don't support, if we don't give. But yet and still, the one thing that we say more than anything else is that why aren't they playing better? Why aren't they doing better? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why couldn't they do this? Why couldn't they do that? The only problem is if you don't support them, they can't do any better. If you don't support your local HBCU, they won't be able to do better. And whose fault is that? It's not theirs. They're only allotted X number of dollars from the state and from the federal government. And every HBCU relies on the alumni to support them and sponsors. And if we don't take the time to go back and give, but yet and still we want to have the best for our schools, it won't happen. So this is one of my soapbox moments that I will continue to have, and I will continue to push, because it's so vital. It's necessary that we do this, and it's necessary that we have support for all of our schools. Now, with that being said, I'm going to show the following week of football coverage. And I'm just covering these first couple of weeks here. And so let's see. And as I said, this schedule is from the Onedin Sports website. I want to give Mr. Eric Moore credit for being able to put this site together. So thank you, Mr. Moore, for your support, and thank you very much for having this available for all of us to see, more than anything else. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So for the upcoming year, this is what we have. We have this first game, Lincoln out of Missouri. They're playing Washburn at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Albany State is traveling down to Mississippi College, and that game is going to be at 6 p.m. Central. Shaw goes to Wingate, and that game is going to be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mississippi Valley travels to Murray State, and that game will be played at 7 p.m. Central. Texas College visits West Texas A&M, and that game is going to be at 7 p.m. Central. Cowan travels to Mars Hill. That game is at 7 p.m. Bluefield State hosts Lincoln Tech, and that game is at 12 noon. St. Aug hosts I apologize for mispronouncing this name, Tusculum. And that game is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shippensburg will travel to will host West Virginia State, and that game is at 1 p.m. North Carolina A&T gets introduced to the Big South, and they will be playing Furman. But guess what? Let me go back to North Carolina A&T here for a moment. With A&T, the one thing about North Carolina A&T is they indicated that they wanted to play any and everyone. And what they did is they essentially had proven pretty much everything that they had to prove in the SWAC and in the MEAC. And what they wanted to do was they said, okay, well, since we've done this, let's see if we can compete on the next level. And that's what they're doing. They are making sure that they compete on the next level. And what we want to be able to see is, and I mean, every time they played in the Celebration Bowl, they came home a victor. The last time they played in the Celebration Bowl, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, they played against the Alcorn State Braves. That game was won 64-44, and I hope I have that score correct. But the thing about it is the facts are the facts. And let's see what's going to happen this year. And if they're able to come out on top in any of those games, it'll be interesting to see if they are able to maintain this level of play. But the bottom line is, when you lace up your shoes, it's one man against another man. And whether or not you're able to compete on that level is up to you. And if you're able to compete on that level, then okay. But if you're unable to compete on that level, then it really says a lot for what you actually bring to the table. And so it'll be interesting to see how well they play. I'm interested in seeing how well they'll be able to match up against these other schools. And I did indicate that Furman was a part of the Big South, and I apologize. They are not a part of the Big South. The one reason why I made that assumption is because the Furman women's lacrosse team plays in the Big South. And so that's where I was made my mistake. So I apologize for that. But the one thing that you want to be able to know is what North Carolina A&T did. They have a great program. They have a great school. As a matter of fact, sorry about that. They actually sent two athletes to the Olympics, and they performed admirably. And they were on the team 4x. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this information for you for what they actually did, because they really made history for North Carolina A&T. And that was the one thing I truly wanted to bring, is because the two of their athletes, they really made sure that that A&T were well represented in Tokyo. And the one thing you can easily say is that year after year after year, they have made sure that they have put together a team, and a lot of a good track team. And a lot of people thought it was just, oh, okay, well, yeah, sure, whatever. It was just a fluke. But year after year, because the first time that they really appeared on the scene, and I know I'm talking about football, and I apologize for getting slightly off track here, but I'm a track guy. And even though this is football season that's coming up, I still have to make sure I give kudos to North Carolina A&T for the type of athletic program and the athletic prowess they have put together. They have an excellent academic school. Excellent. But in conjunction with the athletics, and I'm sorry, the education, they have also put together an excellent athletic program. So not only do you have to become a great student, but you also must be a good athlete if you want to become a student athlete and perform at that level. And for those two athletes that they were able to send to the Olympics, oh my gosh, look at what they did. They brought home gold. What else can you ask for? I mean, in terms of a track and field program, what else can you ask for? And they put on a show. They truly put on a show. And for that, I have to say congratulations. And I pray that they continue to show up and show out for HBCU sports. But let's get back to football. I apologize. I digress. Having looked at what North Carolina A&T has brought to the table in terms of track and field, and especially since the Olympics were just last month. And those guys performed admirably. Ross and Trevor Stewart. Those guys just performed admirably. So congratulations again for what you actually did on the field, on the track field. But let's go back to football here. And as you can see, past North Carolina A&T, you have Howard traveling to Richmond to play a 2 p.m. game. And as you can see, that game is going to be played on ESPN and also on 106.1 FM. And then Langston travels to Oklahoma Panhandle State. And that game is going to be played at 3 p.m. Central. Bowie State travels to Delaware State, and that's a 4 p.m. game. It'll be interesting to see what what Bowie State brings to the table. And the reason why I say, because Bowie State has won the CIAA 2 years in a row, and they're going for a three-peat. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to the head coach and also the athletic director for Bowie State, and they are looking very high on what this football season can bring to Bowie State. And of course, they haven't played in a while themselves, and so they're anxious for what this football season will bring to them and what will actually transpire for this upcoming football season. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires this year. It's going to be a great year for football. And the one thing before I go and go back to looking at these games, I must say this to everyone that's out there. Please be careful. COVID-19 is still out there. COVID-19 still exists. COVID-19, the Delta variant, is more contagious than the original strain that was out there. And the one thing I say to you is that when you go to these games, protect yourself. A lot of individuals, you may even have peer pressure from your own friends that say, well, the game is outside. What do you have to worry about? Well, you have everything to worry about. For the games that I go to, guess what I plan to do? I plan to make sure that I'm protected. I plan to make sure that I have on my mask. If I'm in an area alone, then of course I may take it out. But guess what I'm going to have with me? Lysol. A lot of individuals might say, oh my gosh, you're really taking this thing too far. Well, guess what? Yes, I am. And do you know why? It's because I do not want to bring this home to my family. As you guys know, I have mentioned this quite intently, is that I actually had COVID. My entire family had COVID. That's something I don't want to have again. I don't want to live through that again. And when you attend these football games, please make sure you keep yourself safe, because you don't know what kind of variant could be out there. We could be starting another variant. We could be starting another strand. So when you go to these games, when you're yelling and screaming and shaking your pom-poms for your favorite team, make sure more than anything else, sports fans, that when you are cheering, that you think about what you're doing going home. In some of these games, I'm almost afraid to say that you might want to stay at home. But I know so many of us are so anxious to get back out there and to see that first football game, to get back out there, to see that first team just play and support your local football team, support your first team. Heck, I'm going to Atlanta this weekend, this upcoming Saturday, to see Alcorn play North Carolina Central. I plan on being there. Plan on supporting both teams. But I plan on being very careful. So when you go to these games, make sure you're careful, and make sure you think about your friends, the people that are in the stands right next to you, and also your family. Because if you're not careful, any or all of these particular games could be a potential super spreader, and we won't know until 2 weeks later. So let's think about that. Let's get back to these games. So here we are. And I left off at Bowie State. Next game we have Elizabeth City hosting Fayetteville State. And that game is at 4 p.m. And that's going to be at Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And this is going to be the Down East Viking Classic. And that's going to be a very interesting game to see two top teams in the CIAA play against each other. And both of those teams, well, I should say all teams, are looking up at Bowie State. And even though I have not gotten down to Shaw yet, or have I? I know Shaw, as far as I'm concerned, Shaw is that school that we probably will be looking at to really challenge Bowie State in their division. But that's me. That's only me who is actually saying that. And then, of course, you have Townsend traveling to Morgan State in Baltimore, Maryland. That's a 4 p.m. game, and that's the battle for Greater Baltimore. And so that's shapes up to be a good game. Then Miles College will travel to Alabama State. Now, that game, and this is going to be the Labor Day Classic, that game is shaping up to be a pretty good game. And that's the top school in the CIAA, or the top team that has been on top in the SIAC. I apologize, in the SIAC, that has always been on top the last few years, and they're challenging Alabama State, which happens to be in the East Division, and they're projected to finish, if I'm not mistaken, 4th in the division this year, behind Jackson State. But we shall see whether or not that's the case and how well they perform. This is going to be a good test, a really good test for both teams on whether or not Alabama State has the ability to defeat Miles College, which they should, because Miles College is, as much as I hate to say it, is in a lower division than Alabama State. But Miles College is playing to say, yes, we're top dog in the SIAC, but we're going to make sure we test who we are to show that not only can we host and not only can we play and hold our own against higher divisions, but we will be able to show that we're in a position to play them, hold our own, and possibly even defeat them. And this is one of the things that Kentucky State did back in 2019. And in 2019, Kentucky State defeated not only one, but two FCS schools. Wow. 2 FCS schools in the same year. They defeated Robert Morris, and they followed up by beating Jackson State. And they defeated Jackson State in the Circle City Classic in 2019. And as a matter of fact, the game wasn't even close. They just ran the ball down their throat. Kentucky State against Jackson State, that is. And they just ran, and when they did throw the ball, and I'm being very facetious, the 2 times that they did throw the ball, it was for great completions because they were having so much success in terms of running the ball. Why pass? But when the quarterback did step back to pass the ball, he completed them. I think he may have made one incomplete pass. And out of that game, he may have thrown maybe 8 passes total. But as I was saying, I was being very facetious. When I said he only threw 2 passes. But why? Why should he throw more than 2 passes when you're so successful in running the ball? So he didn't have to pass. But in terms of what Kentucky State is bringing to the table, and I say that because of what Miles College can possibly bring to the table, it's going to be a very interesting game. And whether or not Miles College is able to do the same thing to Alabama State that Kentucky State did to Robert Morris and Jackson State in 2019. So that is going to be another very interesting game to keep our eyes on. And let's continue looking at the rest of these games that we have here. And as you can see, we have a full slate of games set for the 4th. And you have, of course, as I stated earlier, Alabama A&M will play South Carolina State. And that game is going to be in Huntsville, and that's going to be the Lewis Cruz Classic. So South Carolina State will travel to that game to play Alabama A&M, and they did not fare well when they last played them. So we shall see how well they fare this year. And let's cover a couple of other games. It's coming close to the time that Coach will join us. And of course, we have Southern traveling to Troy, Hampton hosting Virginia Union, Livingstone will host Clark Atlanta, and Texas Southern will play Prairie View in the Labor Day Classic, and that game will be on ESPN3. And Bethune-Cookman will travel to UTEP, and that game is going to be at 8 p.m. Central, so that's a 9 o'clock game. And, of course, that last game that you see down there is Jackson State will be playing Florida A&M on that Sunday, as well as Tennessee State playing Grambling and Tuskegee playing Fort Valley State. And that's going to be the Red Tails Classic. And that game will be on ESPNU. The Grambling Tennessee State game will be on ESPN Plus, and the Orange Blossom Classic with the Jackson State Tigers and the Florida A&M Rattlers. That game will be on ESPN2. And we look forward to having 3 great games on September 5th. But the games leading up to those, we intend to see some really, really great games here. And whether or not we have success in having them win those games, and of course I'm a little biased here. Of course, being a Jackson State grad, I want to see Jackson State win that Orange Blossom Classic, and hopefully they will end up winning that Orange Blossom Classic. And if they do, then that's going to be something that I intend to enjoy quite well. And so let us switch now to what we have here. And let us switch now to speak to Coach Jackson. Coach Jackson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So how are you doing today, Coach?
Michael, it's another beautiful day in paradise, man. I can't complain.
Say again?
I said it's another beautiful day in paradise. I can't complain.
Well, that is good to hear. And Coach, the one thing you have this just a small football game coming up this upcoming Saturday. And the one thing is, we want to say thank you very much for being able to join us. And because of this game that you have coming up, how do you look forward to with your players? How do you think your players are ready and prepared for this upcoming football game?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's been a long time, Michael. I really appreciate you having me on. It's a huge game for so many reasons. This is our first game in 2 years. And we are no different in the fact that COVID and the chaos of the last year and a half certainly has affected our program, has affected our young men, certainly our coaching staff, et cetera. We're excited about the opportunity to go out and compete. You know, at the same time, we recognize the chaos that's going on in our society. Literally, Michael, in the past week, we've had 4 young men that have had family members to pass away. Just this weekend was at 3 funerals, and it's a difficult time, man. And we're talking about real life stuff here. Not all of them were COVID, but that certainly is a factor into a lot of the uncertainty and the things that are going on from coast to coast. Had a young man, one of our quarterbacks buried his father just yesterday. And again, we want to go out and we're looking forward to the opportunity to compete. And certainly so much has happened since the last time we were able to take the field in 2019.
Yes.
But it's important that we keep perspective. And, our life experiences at this point is forcing us to put things into the proper perspective. And just yesterday, I had a cousin that passed away from COVID, 47 years old. So, thank you so much. So, we want to go out and just give it our all. And the number one reason why we want to do that is because the good Lord has blessed us with the opportunity, and we just want to do the best that we can while we can, with what we have. So Central State, obviously, awesome opponent with a new coaching staff, new energy, and our opportunity to go up to Columbus, Ohio, and compete in this first-time classic, and dealing with Mr. John Pace and his people in organizing the event. We're just excited. There's a lot of excitement within our program, certainly just to go out and show what we're all about. We had to shut things down in 2020, 2021 school year. We tried to go out in the fall and, maybe have a couple of practices, but that got shut down fairly quickly. And we didn't get our full allotment of practices in the spring as well because of, COVID issues. So this is a time that we're excited about, but, we lost a lot of that momentum from 2019. We did have a good year, and we lost a lot of personnel. So we're a brand new club with had some coaching staff turnover as well, but that's standard procedure in this business. But we'll see, and that's all we can say. We go out and work our tail off the best we can each and every day, and we'll see come Saturday. Hopefully, we're victorious.
And that's true. Now, one thing I know I can't, and I know you can't give away the game plan, nor am I asking you to give away the game plan, but earlier I talked about how successful Kentucky State was and last year on running the ball. And in the game against Jackson State, heck, you only threw the ball, and I was being very facetious when I said this, you only threw the ball twice because you only had to throw it twice. But I know you threw it roughly about 8 times or 11 times. But in all of your games, you were very successful in the running game. And without giving up your game plan, Coach, do you see that run game still being another high impact or another big factor in your upcoming season?
Well, I think, in our conversations and our talk over the years, that I'm certainly into running the ball and playing good defense. That's my philosophy, which is, kind of becoming archaic, but at the same time, I'm not into it. Thank you very much. I'm not into pretty as much as I am winning. But the reality is, our game plans in my first season were, we went in week to week trying to put our players in the best position to be successful. And we understand that, especially with a young team, and we're still very young, frankly. We played so many freshmen during that year, and again, they haven't had an opportunity to compete because we took the COVID year off. The big deal for us is just giving the guys a chance. We talk about systems and what we want to do as an overall philosophy, but I think that philosophy centers on giving our guys a chance, the guys that we do have playing to their strengths. So what I never want to do is make this a coach's ego thing. And we've got some guys that we think can contribute. Some of our new players that we're have brought in. Some of our veterans are returning, but it's been so long. We'll see how the game goes. That'll dictate, a lot of our philosophy. Hopefully we can do the things that we need to do from a kicking game perspective, turnover perspective, time of possession perspective. And certainly, hopefully penalties will be huge, first game of the year. And just not having been through that process in quite some time. So we'll gauge the game, and then we'll see what we have to do to try to keep it close. Central, we've done our research, and they're loaded now. That is a good club that they have put together, a very good club that they have put together, and they'll be ready for us. That's for sure.
And that was one of the things that I was saying earlier on the show, that Central State is trying to get back to their historical great program.
No question.
That they've had in the past. And with what you just said, you've alluded to that they're bringing a loaded team. And so it's going to be a great challenge. Well, let me ask this of you, Coach. Which side of the ball for Kentucky State, which side of the ball do you think is having the most success? Do you think it's your offensive side that's the most success, or do you think it's the defensive side that is having that is ahead for Kentucky State right now?
Now, people may not want to hear this, but I don't think we're very good on at anything at this point. And what I hope to do is for us to get better. We had our scrimmage on Saturday, and actually literally just finished watching that film from Saturday's scrimmage, and so maybe you're catching me at the wrong time. Haven't finished grading that, but so maybe I'll be feeling a little bit better later on in the day. But we have not arrived by any stretch of the imagination. We have not arrived, and because this is an early start, playing this game on August the 28th, and how. No question. And I really wish we had an extra 2 weeks to prepare, to kind of, get some of, more of the rust off and things like that. But we have to deal with the reality that the game is coming up this Saturday, and we're going to do the best we can. I think that it's critical with just me being the head coach and understanding, the full dynamic with everything that's going on with our players. I mentioned, in their personal lives, and how we're still in the building phases. We have not by any stretch arrived as a program. I've talked to you many times about trying to have long-term success.
Yes, sir.
And, 1 year I thought that, the things that we were able to accomplish the first year is commendable, and certainly a credit to our young men and everybody associated with our program and support staff. But those were only the initial steps. And, the standard protocol that you would have going into a second year, frankly, we just weren't able to, take those steps just because of life being the way it is. So we're still in the building blocks phases. And what I really want to do is, more so than anything, just be able to get on the bus after the game and say that our kids played hard. And in that realm, it's mission accomplished for me.
Awesome. Understand. Now, another question for you. What do you want to say to the alumni base for Kentucky State? I know I personally go to church with one of the alumni members, and she talks very, very highly of KSU and all of the things that KSU is about. I know several individuals that have sent their children to Kentucky State. And so what do you want to leave with the alumni base right now? What do you want to tell them today?
Well, I think the number one thing is, as best we can, what we want to do is represent our university from a football team perspective with great character, great class, and honesty and integrity. And with our effort and the way we carry ourselves every day, just to know that, we're doing, they can rest assured that we're doing the best we can. I want to certainly, our alums and many of the football alums that I've talked to, and I know there are many more out there, they're dealing with the fallout from COVID as well. And just to know that we're supported by so many of them, but that we are thinking about them and praying for them as well, because this is a big deal. It's a global pandemic that's affecting people across the board, and we're also thrilled for the opportunity to get out in games. We have a great alumni base there in Ohio and in the Columbus area. So hopefully they'll get a chance to see us with a great effort on Saturday. Likewise, down in Nashville here in a couple of weeks, as Tennessee State is on the schedule. And also the opportunity that we have in the Circle City Classic up in Indianapolis, where certainly, as you know, we have a tremendous amount of alums about 55. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to come out and support our program and support our young men. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing is just to know that we're trying our best. This is something that we take very seriously, and we want to represent them with the appropriate amount of class and the appropriate amount of professionalism that KSU deserves, and certainly that the alums expect.
And I know I intend to see you on that day when you come down to the Circle City Classic, and hope to be able to interview you and be able to ask you a lot of questions personally, face to face. But we'll work on that. We have 4 weeks to work on that, so we'll be talking quite a bit leading up to that. But the one thing, I have two other questions for you, Coach. The one thing I would like to find out, do you have an idea the number of players that are currently in compliance with the COVID-19 vaccination? And also, are there special plans being made for the home games when they will be played, in terms of, will there be 100% attendance or not?
Now, concerning the attendance and that protocol, that is certainly, I imagine that'll be evaluated from week to week based off of, everything that's going on with the governmental guidelines and our university leadership making those decisions.
Yes,
and I will certainly fall in line with whatever those decisions are. So I think that it'd be a little bit premature. Our first game is September the 11th, first home game against Kentucky. And I think we'll know a little bit more about how exactly that will happen and what it'll look like as we get closer to that date. Concerning our vaccination status, I don't know how appropriate it is to give you the exact number. So but I will say this right here. I do feel comfortable saying that it is very, 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 very high. Okay. I do feel comfortable saying that, and we're certainly, with regard to our conference mandate, that everybody be vaccinated in order to play conference football games. That standard was set, throughout the summer, and we've had to live under those guidelines, and we feel good about where we are at this particular time.
Excellent. Well, Coach, thank you very much. And as we close out, is there anything that you want to tell your fans, tell the alumni base? I'll give you the closing statement here as we close out the show for today.
Sure.
The final word is yours, Coach.
Well, this weekend, Saturday, Columbus, Ohio, please come out and support if you can. If not, there'll certainly be opportunities online, whatever those may be. But we're looking forward to, again, giving a great effort. And I think that is what matters to me. And again, we want to represent ourselves as best we can this first weekend. Hopefully the start of an awesome football season. Again, we're in a situation where we're battling a lot of adversity on the inside. And for those out there, selfishly, pray for us as we get through all this stuff.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I want to say thank you very much. And more than anything else, I pray that you have a successful year overall. And we will have a weekly show. For those of you out there, we will have a weekly show with Coach for those weeks that he is available. So let me say that first. If he's available each week, we plan to have a weekly show with Coach Jackson. Of course, he has other obligations with Kentucky State, so there may be weeks that he may not be available, but prayerfully he'll be available for each week to discuss the upcoming game as well as the previous game. And as he mentioned earlier, they will be playing in Columbus, Ohio, against Central State. And as I said, congratulations, and I pray for success and pray that we're able to meet again on same time on B.L.O.K Sports next Monday at 12 noon with Coach Jackson. And next week our show will start at 11 a.m. And for those of you who are watching, we look forward to seeing you, and thank you very much for watching us at a new time here on B.L.O.K Sports. And so again, for everyone that's out there, may God bless you. Stay safe, but support your local HBCU more than anything else. As I said earlier, I bought season tickets. I may not attend each game, but I'm supporting the athletic program. So please do the same thing for Kentucky State and every other HBCU school that's out there. May God bless, and we will see you next week. Have a good day.